they call it that old Mountain Dew. Them that refuse it are few. If you shove your mug, I'll fill up your jug with that good old Mountain Dew. I'm Joe Marshall in Green, Kentucky. 42101 to be exact. Well, we were on radio every day, early in the morning and again an hour at noon at WKCT when they went on the air. And we were there for years. And the program director's name was Joe Calloway, and he loved pets. He said, you need a mascot for your band. And he wanted an animal. He loved animals. He said, I know where there's a black bear for sale, a cub black bear. I made arrangements to go over and look at the cub bear. And the bear was mean, but he was scared to death. The guy had to take a stick every time he went close to him. And I saw the bear, and I said, what do you want for the bear? He said, $30. Well, there was three of us, the manager or the program director at the radio station, Joe Calloway, and Pear-Shaped Barker. That was his nickname because he was pear-shaped. He was the engineer there, and he wanted in on the bear too. So we bought the bear, and we gave $10 a piece for the bear. And when we finished playing the square dance, I went over there, and we opened the trunk of the car. We was driving a 39 sedan Dodge, and we carried our instruments in the trunk. We didn't have a lot of instruments, tied the bass fiddle on top. And so we opened the trunk, and he led that bear and made him jump up in the trunk, slammed the door to on him, and left the chain on him. And here we go down the road coming home with the bear in the trunk. That bear slapped on that chain and beat back there. And every boy in that back seat had a hand on the door latch. That door had to come through there, he could have took over that car. It took over all the way home. And when we got home, we lived right across from there. And we backed up. We were afraid of the bear too. So we backed up the telephone pole out in the side yard there. You could see it from the road. And we backed the car up and tied the chain to around the light pole, then drove out to the end of the chain as far as we could. And my brother was driving the car, and I got on the side, and I jerked the lid up, and he drove out from under the bear. So there bear was. He was in our yard tied to that telephone pole. Well, that was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, time we got home, of course. And the next morning, Dad come and woke us up, said, you got to do something with that bear. And the yard was full of people. People had never seen a bear before. And there that bear was going around and around and around that telephone pole, you know. And that yard was full of people looking at the bear. Said, you got to get him out of the front yard. Well, I didn't know how to do that, so finally I got me a stick just like that guy did. And I got in there with him, and I untied him of the chain and led him around behind the garage to a peach tree. And I tied him to that peach tree. And so that's where we took care of the bear, and I'd feed him, and I'd try to pet him, and I couldn't. He wouldn't let me pet him. And he'd climb up in that peach tree and sit there on those limbs there all day, you know, sit up in that tree, you know, and we'd feed him. I fed him real good. He liked lettuce. And we'd have a early morning broadcast, and then I'd go there to the A&P store there on the Park Road, and they'd just be shucking their lettuce, you know, getting ready, and I'd pick up all the scrap lettuce they had. And I fed that bear a lot of lettuce and everything else you could get your hands on. He'd eat anything, but meat, he wouldn't eat meat. Where I could lead him around, but I always took bread. You could pitch him a little piece of bread and he'd catch it. As long as you was pitching him some bread to eat, he wouldn't bother you. And I got so I'd lead him all over the place. And I trained him to do a few little tricks. And we took him on the stage with us, Jerry the Bear. And I had him sitting up in a chair, and I had him drink a Coca-Cola, sitting up in the chair. I had him laying down, and I had him talking to me. I could say, talk to me, Jerry, and he'd go, rawr. I said, I can't hear you. Talk to me, and he'd go, rawr, a little louder. And the third time, I'd say, I can't hear it, and he'd growl real loud, and I had a Coca-Cola to give him. I said, and I'd tremble and shake like I was here. Didn't go hand him the Coke. He'd sit up in the chair and drink that Coca-Cola. Then he'd lay down to finish it, lay down on his back, turn it straight up. So that's about all he did on the stage with us, but that was enough for everybody to see a bear, see Jerry the Bear. And Kenny, my brother,
I always went, the bear was dangerous really. And Kenny would go in front. We'd back the trailer that we pulled him in right up to the stage door. And we was playing at a theater one night on the stage of the theater, and we showed Jerry. And Kenny always went in front to get everybody out of the way, and he'd go straight to the door, open the back door, and open the trailer door. And Jerry would jump in the trailer. It's his bed, that's where he lived. Had nice straw in there to sleep in. And but when he got to the stage door was locked and he couldn't get it open. And then that bear, he was going fast because I always fed him. Just as soon as he got in that trailer, he got fed. And he knew that. And he'd run to that trailer just a flying and get in there. And Kenny couldn't open the door. And hollered for the stage manager, and he finally got around there. And Kenny was hanging up on the wall. We never did know how he got up there or what he was holding to, but he was up that wall. The manager finally got the door, tripped it somewhere and got it open, and then old Jerry went on out and jumped in his trailer and we fed him, and we never did know how Kenny got up there. So that was one of the things with Jerry the bear. And then one other thing, they started the fairground out here where it is today. They just started the fair out there. And the guy that owned that out there wanted to keep the bear out there. So I went out there and we staked him out and he fed him and took care of him. And one day the bear got loose. He hollered to me, called me, said, "Get out here quick." And before I get there, he called me back and said, "I done got him catched." And he finally got hold of the chain and fed him bread like I did and got him tied to that stake. And that's another thing that happened to the bear. But every time the bear would get loose, the Park City Daily News would always run a story on it. And I didn't want a news story about that bear being bad and out and all the time.
Shut your mug, I'll fill up your jug with that good old Mountain Dew.